Hey, it's Dr. Karen Can. Welcome to another edition of the Spiritual Medicine Digest. And this week's topic is about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yes, let me repeat that. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I got to tell you, growing up, I was mispredictability. I wanted everything under my control. If there was something that I didn't know the outcome of already, I wouldn't do it. So I didn't try anything that was out of my comfort zone. And yeah, was I insecure? Absolutely. Very insecure. Um, and so I just stuck with things that I knew would work. So I had this sense that security was the most important thing. Now, we won't talk about where I got that from or why or whatever. But things have changed massively for me. Whereas before, whenever I had to make a decision, I would have to like put it on a chart and do the pros and the cons and, think about it and wrestle like, nights without sleep, trying to figure things out, like with my logical mind. Little did I know that the part of me, that sensitive soul self, that intuitive part, was really shut down. So I didn't have that kind of help to know how to make a decision. So I would just stress over even little decisions sometimes because I was so afraid of making a mistake and so afraid of being uncomfortable. But as this year and the year before has shown us with the pandemic, is that things get pretty uncomfortable and things get pretty unpredictable. So we have a choice. We can either choose to resist it or we can choose to kind of flex and flow with it. But this is not done overnight. I know it certainly wasn't, done overnight for me. I had to do a lot of growth and change in order for me to get to this place of being more comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I got to tell you that my hobby, figure skating, has really helped me in this regard. So maybe there's something else in your life that you can think of that is also helping you in the background, if you will, getting more comfortable with being uncomfortable and not knowing the outcome. For example, when I launched myself in the air and tried to twirl 1.5 rotations and land on a quarter-inch blade, there's a lot of things that could go right, of course. But there are, when you're learning something, when I'm learning something, it takes some thought, like, okay, where's my hip, my head, my arms, my core, all this kind of stuff until it gets more into the muscle memory. And that's what's really cool is as you start to be open to being more uncomfortable, getting used to being uncomfortable, getting used to unpredictability or things happening that are not what you consciously want, then you start developing a muscle memory, if you will, or subconscious memory, whatever you want to call it, that will help you shift and flex really, really quickly. So I have to say that some of the attempts that I have done lately, launching myself in the air at the age of mid 50s, I'm trying to land on this blade. The other kids are like, okay, it's taken me a couple of times and I can do it. Okay, it's taken me 20 years. Still, I persist. It's getting easier. It really, really is. The fear part is so much diminished compared to where it was before. Before it was like, oh, all these things, right? But now it's just more like, okay, be in the moment. So I'm feeling my body. I'm going up. Okay, what am I supposed to do now? All right, I'm supposed to go on this side, and so it's getting easier and easier. And the more we practice it, the easier it gets. So if you do some divine muscle testing, these are some questions I would like you to get an answer. Um, in terms of percentages out of 100%. So the first one is how comfortable are you at feeling or being uncomfortable, and get a percentage out of 100%. Now, if you get 100%, I would highly doubt it unless you've already done work in this area. So don't feel bad if it's like 20% or 10% or 30%, it's okay. Just kind of, go into stillness, get your percentage and your divine muscle testing where you're at and just move on, right? And then the next thing is you can ask, how open are you to being inconvenienced? Now, if you look at everyone around you, the whole world, We are not very tolerant. And you can even use that word tolerant instead of open. You could use the word tolerant. So you can just interchange some of these words in your muscle testing. How tolerant, how open I am to being inconvenienced. And you want these to be 100%. So no matter what happens in your world, you are completely unflappable. Like you're just like a rock of calm, right? And there's a lot of people making decisions right now that are based on what is comfortable as opposed to what is right, what is moral, and what is healthy. I'm not going to say exactly what I'm talking about, but some of you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So people making decisions based on wanting to go back to normal, wanting to have their freedom back. Well, I totally get that one, right? But the way in which they think they're going to do it is through the avenue of comfort. And I got to tell you, comfort is highly overrated because you do not get to anywhere you have not already been through comfort. You go to where you have not been, something that you desire to create, to manifest, whether that be abundance or an axle, in my case, in figure skating. You get there through discomfort, purposely trying to make yourself uncomfortable, but there is discomfort in growth. They say, kids go through these growing pains. Well, it's sort of like that. And who's to say that's bad, right? We judge it as bad. So making our decisions based on comfort is 180 degrees opposite of what I feel we should be doing. We should be making decisions that is for our highest and greatest good, for ourselves, our family, our community in the long run, not just in the short run. Some people are like, oh, I can't wait till I get to go to a concert. I'm like, are you going to die if you don't go to a concert? No, you're not. Okay. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't want to go to a concert or anything like that. Like I would say, on my wish list would be to visit family that are in another country who has now introduced vaccine passports, which means I never will get to visit them unless that is lifted. Okay. Because of my own personal, I'm not saying that, you have to have the same view, but for my own personal discernment and feeling is that I don't need to get a vaccine. I am immune already. I spend a lot of time and energy and consciousness in detoxifying my body and eating organic foods. Why would I inject something that's experimental just for comfort or just so I could travel or just, you know what I mean? Because honestly, I don't have a lot of trust right now in our governments, in our big tech companies, in our pharmaceutical companies, in our big agriculture companies, in our fake meat companies. The list could go on. I know some of you are like, okay, I'm done. I'm not listening to you anymore. And that's okay. I bless you on your way. But for the rest of you, you can also ask, how accepting are you that life is not under your control? That's a biggie. I struggled with that one, right? And I still work on this on a regular basis. When I can feel the resistance in my body, I go, oh, okay, I'm in resistance here. So sometimes I ask my angels, to help me with that resistance. Instead of asking my angels to change the outcome out there, to go, hey, angels, can you just stop the pandemic right now? And so we can get back to normal. Okay, that's comfort, right? It's like, sorry, that's not what we're here to do. You get yourselves out of the pandemic. You grow. That's what they're saying to us. You grow, you evolve, you got this. So it's not about, our angelic beings or our ET friends rescuing us from our bad decisions or whatever, right? It's about us empowering ourselves to make those decisions and making a change. And some of us, it means taking a stand, and I'm one of those folks. Call me a rebel, whatever. Call me disobedient. I don't care. Okay, I'm just taking a stand. And you can feel differently, and that's okay. I accept you and love you anyway. So you can ask these questions. The other question you can ask is, how willing am I? Okay, so how willing are you to flex and change with whatever life circumstances present themselves? like I said, vary these questions, right? So I'll go over them again. How comfortable am I at being uncomfortable? How open am I to being inconvenienced, or how tolerant am I to being inconvenienced? How accepting am I that life is not under my control? And how willing am I to flex and change with whatever life presents, right? So the ideal is 100%. Of course, if you get less than 95%, then you have some work to do, whether you do it through Topican healing method, or whether you do that through the body code, emotion code, some other healing modality. It doesn't really matter. But just knowing that there is some resistance in that place, then you know what to heal. And this is a really, really important, piece. Because the more comfortable you can be with unpredictability, the more comfortable you can be with being uncomfortable, with not knowing, with not having security, okay, the more empowered and free you really are. I know some folks are talking about, 10 days of darkness. I mean, they said that months ago and it didn't happen. Not making fun of them. But it happened. It could. They could, right? Some people are preparing their, they got their freezer full of food and they got their generator and they've got, bottled water. I got a well. So, so there's all these things that they're preparing for. If you do those things out of that feeling of neutrality and love and curiosity, right? Can't hurt. I'm sort of not that into it, but but on the other hand, if you're doing it out of fear, that's not where we want to be. That's not where we want to be. So there's a way in which things can be done out of curiosity. It's not going to harm yourself or anyone if you, I don't know, stuck up on whatever. But I kind of joked to my husband a while back. I said, this intermittent fasting thing that I'm doing and being a starseed and being more and more breatharian, practicing Buteyko breathing, doing stillness, right? That beingness, the 3 Bs of the blueprint, breatharian blueprint, which by the way, you can get that free when you buy my book, Sensitivities or superpower.com. So there's an MP3 for that downloads that blueprint, and then you can practice the Buteyko breathing and the being part, right? So I don't have to eat as much right now, and I'm practicing intermittent fasting. And years ago, when I started with this whole curiosity about the diet and different things and all the swelling that I was going through, I was experimenting with a diet called the HCG diet. Now I was doing it homeopathically, not through the injections or the hormones. And it was a very, very, very low fat diet. It's you have to be under medical doctor supervision. That would be myself. So I supervised myself and to do this, and it really, really was helpful. Of course, it was super clean, right? So no processed food or anything like that. It was quite meat heavy, so 6 ounces of meat twice a day, and that's okay. And it was really, really helpful. At the beginning, when I started it, I was hungry. I don't think at the time I was using the LifeWave SP6 Complete appetite control patches. Now they help me, immensely, and I highly recommend them. So I was hungry and going to bed hungry, and I was like, there was a fear there. It's fascinating. So I just kind of played. I thought, just drink water, and am I going to die if I'm hungry? Nope. I'm going to bed. I don't feel hypoglycemic. With kind of that woozy, I'm going to faint thing. So I'm like, let's just sit with this hungry. And, I got used to being okay and feeling calm and not nervous or anxious while feeling hungry. Isn't that interesting? I had no idea I was afraid of hunger. Think about it. So unless you have severe adrenal fatigue or something like that, and it's not a good idea necessarily for you to do intermittent fasting. So just check with your doctor, or naturopath, or functional medicine practitioner about that. But having these periods of fasting where you're drinking just water, or if you're like me, kind of middle of the road doing bone broth or something like that, but having a tinge of hunger and feeling it in your body and knowing you're going to be okay, that is like spiritual training right there. It really is. I can understand why the Catholics do this, Friday fasting thing. I always thought it was, kind of silly before when I was a kid, but now I understand it was a spiritual practice, not a physical health practice per se. But with intermittent fasting, what's really neat is you can do the bone broth thing and go as long as you can if you want to with drinking bone broth, as long as you're not like ravenous for chips or something afterwards, and you're bone brothing it, and then you eat whatever, right? Your lunch, your dinner. Um, it's really interesting. And I joked to my husband, getting back to that, is that people who are preppers, they call them, they are prepping for Armageddon or whatever. So so they have stored all this dried food and canned food. And I was thinking to myself, "Mm, canned food, dried food, okay, let's see. I don't really carbs that much because carbs make me hungry. I got a bunch of diabetics in my family, so I don't have diabetes because I luckily had my lifestyle turned around before I got it. Um, but I'm like, do I really want to store that much oatmeal or rice or beans or starchy stuff like that? Because I'm just going to be hungry, eating all that stuff. My blood sugar going right. So I'm like, you know what I need? My husband's like, what? I'm like, bacon fat. I'm like, think about it, honey. I'm like, we eat bacon once a week on Sundays, for our bacon and gluten-free pancakes. Okay, the carby day I have, carby and fat day apparently. So we save the bacon fat, and it's great to cook with later on. It doesn't go rancid very easily. Got a lot of monounsaturated fats, which didn't you know, like bacon's actually healthy for you? Like weird, right? Like we didn't get taught that. So I'll be like, I got a freaking huge tub of bacon fat. 1 teaspoon of that is gonna last hours. Think about it. Like how much rice would you have to eat to stay full? A lot of rice. Now, if you did rice and bacon fat, great, but there's really not a lot of nutrition in rice or beans for that matter, or oatmeal. Like if you're gonna stock up, I'd be like, stock up on like beef jerky and bacon fat. Now people go, oh, Dr. Karen, don't you need fruit and vegetables? Not, you know what? If we're doing the Armageddon thing, right? Don't worry about it. Because think about it, the Inuit. We call them Inuit now. Is that politically correct? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Eskimos is not politically correct, but Inuit is. Okay, anyway. So the people that live up north, eat like seals, seal fat, whale fat, whatever. They eat a lot of fat, a lot of blubber, fat meat. They don't eat vegetables. Well, maybe they do now, but before they started eating processed food, their traditional diet was meat and fat, and they did not get vitamin C deficient. Isn't that interesting? But you know what? The minute you introduce a carb, vitamin C goes way down because you need vitamin C to process. I'm simplifying the biochemistry here. You need vitamin C to process carbs. But if you eat meat and fat, your vitamin C levels are fine. Isn't that fascinating? Anyway, so I don't know how I got into this prepper thing, but yeah, I worst comes to where you definitely need, water. Most of us still need water, unless you're completely breatharian, which I'm not. So you would need water definitely, but I would be like, hey, if I don't even have meat, of course, knowing me, I got tons of bone broth, right, stored up and bone broth powder and all that kind of stuff. But if I didn't have, I'd be like bacon fat, man. I'm just eating bacon fat. Yep, yep. I think I got turkey fat in the fridge, and I think I've got pork fat somewhere. They sell that stuff now. It's all the rage. So yeah, that's what I would be doing. Okay, so last but not least, before we get to announcements, is that I want to share with you a Topican Healing Directive. The first one is going to cover all the bases of what we just covered in our, muscle testing that we talked about earlier. And the other one is called the Reset and Reboot 2.0. Now, the second Topican Healing Directive that I'll share with you today, that I'll do for you, is something that I often do at the end of healing for my clients when we've done a lot of physical body healing. Now, you can do it, of course, after any other type of healing as well. And the reason I started using this reset and reboot is because I noticed that just like a computer that has a new operating system, after we do Topican healing and do a lot of releases, we do release this, release that, erase this, download this, positive morphic field, etc. That it would be good to reset and reboot all parts of us, the body especially, sort of like rebooting your computer when you get a new download, whether it be Microsoft or iOS or Mac or whatever, right? When you download the new programming, you need to reboot your computer so everything starts to integrate. So I'm going to show you that. And this is often if you are with me in a mini healing or my once a month mini healings, you can get on my mailing list for that. This is something that we often will do near the end of the mini healing is just do a reset and reboot. Other times, because I'm slightly impatient, slightly, I will do this before rechecking organs, glands, cells, how happy and balanced they are after we've done the healing, because I just know that, makes it faster. So, and by the way, if you do have my Ascension 3 jewelry line, you can just, because it's already in here, you just say, hey, do that Dr. Karen's Reset and Reboot 2.0 and do that for all parts of me, thanks. Right, so you can say it like that, but I'll show you the actual Topican healing directive for that. So let's first do the first one. So this one has to do with, we talked about being comfortable and being uncomfortable, all that kind of stuff, right? So what I want you to do is, if you want to receive this healing, just go into your body right now. Just feel the energy in your body. We want you to be fully present so you can fully receive. You can close your eyes if you'd like, if it's safe for you to do that. And then feel your body. And then we'll do both Topican healing directives. And then maybe you can write down in the comments. Would love to hear how that feels in your body after you feel each one. That would be really helpful and useful. Okay, so here we go. Here's the first one. I now command that any and all energies preventing you from being fully comfortable with being uncomfortable, open to being inconvenienced, accepting of not being in control, and willing to flex and change with whatever life presents, be fully healed and resolved in the highest and best way, all directions of time and all timelines where you exist, ease, speed, and grace. Thank you. Okay, so just feel your body right now. Feel the energy. If you feel any in the body, I can feel it in mine. Okay, and let's go ahead and do the Topican healing directive for resetting and rebooting. Again, you can close your eyes, feel your body, make a note of how that feels. I now command that all parts of you, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, dimensional, any others we don't know about, be reset and rebooted, revived, renewed, rejuvenated, regenerated, rebalanced, recalibrated, realigned, restored, the full radiant maximal health in the highest and best way, all directions of time and all timelines where you exist. Thank you. And this is a good one to memorize and do at the end of all your healings, whether you do Topican healing or any other healing. Can't hurt to do that, right? Yeah. So let me, so write down in the comments how that feels in your body. Would love to know. And I have some announcements for this week. So the first announcement is that on Monday's Light Warrior Radio Show, on Monday, the 17th of May, I'm interviewing Janie Roberts. And here is someone who, at the age of 24, at the peak of her entertainment career, got into a motor vehicle accident and her body was jettisoned out of the back windshield. Yeah. Yeah, she wasn't wearing a seatbelt, but anyway, she was back of the windshield, ended up with, what was it? 24 facial reconstructions, a lot. And bounced back, maybe not that quickly, but she is going to be talking about embracing the contrast. So this really goes in alignment with what we're talking about today. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable. How can you embrace the contrast? The contrast is exactly what you don't want and how that can help you. And we're going to be talking about alignment essentials, tools for living in alignment. So I'll put the link below this video or near this video so you can check it out and be there 12 noon Eastern on Monday to join us live if you'd like to ask a question. Or if you can't make it live, you can always click the same link and the recording will be there after we run the live show. The second announcement is that the Divine Design Training with Quantum Jumping Session 1 and 2, those are still available through UWealth Revolution for 55% off. I spoke with, Darius and his people about that, and I felt that this was so important, especially, throughout this whole pandemic situation. People know how to quantum jump into their future ideal reality and know how to measure how well they're doing, how happy their three immune systems are, right? So at any moment, if you feel a little tickle in the throat, whatever, you can immediately address it. So you don't have to fear at all, ever, having an infection. How cool is that? So package A is still available. Package B was the one we ran live. So that is sold out because the live sessions has already run. But package A includes the quantum jumping session. Recordings from package B is just recorded, not live. So that's at $99, which is more than 55% off the regular price. And announcement number 3 is I would love for you to join me on Wednesday, May 19th, for a private Wealth Dynamics workshop with Wealth Dynamics Flow Coach, Master Flow Coach, Trey Stinnett. We actually did a little Facebook, YouTube live the other day because, pictures are worth 1,000 words. You will get to know exactly what my Wealth Dynamics profile is, as well as, I guess we revealed it, the person that I am looking for to add as a member of my business, a member of my team. I won't say what that profile is. You can watch that. I'll put the link below. The private workshop, we have a limited number of spots. How it works is that the Wealth Dynamics profile testing is $97 normally, and Trey has agreed generously to give us a 4-hour workshop for free. So when you do the Wealth Dynamics testing, normally it's 97 and you don't get a workshop. This time around, we're doing a private workshop. There are limited seats. So if you're interested in knowing how to flow better with abundance based on your own personality, based on, which of the 5 elements you are, in your business personality, this is the one to do because, this is a great and rare opportunity. We get to have Trey for 4 hours. It's so awesome. And I just, yeah, I mean, he's a creator type like I am. And so he knows me like so well. It's like, I've only met the guy twice, but it's like, oh my gosh, amazing. This is really powerful stuff. And so if you're ever in a sense of overwhelm, what do I do next? How do I, make money? How do I get into abundance? Like, should I sell something? Should I be a healer? Should I work for somebody else? And or if you're like me, like I like numbers, but I don't like spreadsheets. So I have somebody else do that. Yeah. So if you ever got into that overwhelm, this is a workshop to do. Definitely an amazing investment in yourself. So I highly recommend you do it. Love to have you there with me. I'm going to be learning too. Okay, I'm going to be learning too. So I'm going to be a student with you in this private workshop Wednesday, May 19th from 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern. There is going to be a replay if you can't make it live. But like I said, there's limited spaces. So please, please, please do sign up as soon as possible. And then when the class is full, we're going to shut that down. So I hope to see you on Wednesday. So that's the Spiritual Medicine Digest for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.